Hello, I'm Ollie and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today my review of a monster of a book, King Sorrow by Joe Hill. So this comes out on the 21st of October. Headline, the publisher very kindly sent me a preview copy of it, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's a wonderfully enjoyable novel. It's also an absolutely huge novel. So it is 881 pages long. It is massive, but it's one of those books that you can absolutely lose yourself in. I found I couldn't put this book down. It kept on pulling me back in. It's a great book to read during the kind of windy, wet days of autumn, to really just like forget the rest of the world and lose yourself in. It's a fantastically entertaining piece of popular fiction. It's Joe Hill's first book for nearly 10 years as well. So his previous novel, The Fireman, came out a long time ago now. I read that when it came out and enjoyed it. I've also read his other, or one of his other novels, Nosferatu, but I haven't at this point read anything else by him, although I do have a couple of other things on the shelves. Clearly he's kept busy in the intervening years. He's written short stories and he writes a few comic books as well. But I would say this is worth the wait. It's a really, really fun book. And I would hesitate to call it a horror novel. It definitely has elements of horror in it. But I think it's kind of a blend of fantasy and horror. So if you think of a book like It by Stephen King, so Joe Hill's dad, that has a similar blend of fantasy and horror. It is, recognisably at times a horror novel, but there's a whole kind of mythos and fantasy element to it as well. And that is also true of King Sorrow. So let me tell you what it's about. So it starts in 1989, set at a university, and it focuses mostly on a guy called Arthur, but also his group of friends. So Arthur is someone who is struggling for various reasons and ends up on the wrong side of some very nasty people. And his friends, and in particular a wealthy friend of his called Colin, whose uncle has access to all sorts of weird and wonderful kind of mystic tomes and things like that. They band together to try and help Arthur, and in doing so they conjure up King Sorrow. So King Sorrow, and I promise I won't get any further with spoilers of the book than this, but this is all covered in the blurb of the book. So King Sorrow is a dragon, a huge dragon, and the presence of this huge dragon helps Arthur get out of his jam, basically. But it comes with a cost. And the rest of the book is about that cost. It's about the deal with the devil, effectively, that these friends have done to help Arthur. And the book takes place over several decades, so pretty much up till the present day. And Joe Hill weaves in, various bits of modern history, modern American history in particular, into those, into the story that spans over those decades. But really it's a book about this group of friends and how their experience changes them. But it's also a book that is packed with wonderful kind of fantastic ideas, with some absolutely brilliant gripping action sequences, some scenes of horror, as I've said, lots of suspense and peril, but also humour and romance. It's just got everything. It's one of those works of popular fiction that just includes everything you could want from a book. If you think of like your absolute favourite big Hollywood summer blockbuster, it's like that. It's got everything. It's a wonderfully complete book. As I say, I was gripped by every single page. There are some great characters. So you've got the main characters, and there is, in the first part of the book where they're at university, there's a definite kind of bit of a dark academia vibe to the book. But as it progresses and they grow up and have jobs and things like that changes. But you do get this sense of, following this group of people through their lives and watching them change from young adults into adults. And there's a lot in this book about how their experiences, shape the adults that they become and change their friendships. So yeah, it's just got everything. It was much better than I expected it to be. I had high hopes for it. You know, as I say, I've enjoyed Joe Hill's previous books, but I didn't enjoy either of them nearly as much as this. I felt both of them had, you know, certain flaws, certain things I didn't. There were certain things I didn't particularly love about them. I felt both of them were slightly too long, to be honest with you. And this one, which I think is even longer, I didn't feel that with at all. I felt like every page had a purpose, and he definitely goes off on, you know, kind of side quests and things like that. There are, you know, some parts where he kind of fills in backstories about characters and that kind of thing. But it all feels like it comes together into a very satisfying whole. And, you know, new characters are introduced as the book progresses, and you get to know them too, as well as the core group. So there's just a ton of stuff to enjoy in this book. It's really engagingly written. It's one of those books where the prose felt like it just kind of flowed into my brain. There's nothing here in the writing that gets in the way of your understanding, your comprehension, or crucially your enjoyment of the book. It's just fun to read. And it's not a book that's, you know, despite its size, it's not a book that's demanding. It's not a book that is going to be, I suspect, in, you know, 50 years time, are people still going to be talking about this book? I don't know. It's never going to be considered to be a literary classic. But like Stephen King's best works, I think it is a wonderful piece of popular fiction that is just completely satisfying. It has everything you could want from a book. It gripped me, it made me laugh, it nearly made me cry at times. There's some really moving stuff in this book. But at the heart of it, it's, as I say, a story of friendship, and it's really wonderful in the way that it portrays that. So those are my thoughts on King's Sorrow by Joe Hill. If you've read it already, do let me know what you thought of it in the comments. It also has, I have to say, some of the most thrilling set pieces I've read for ages. Some of the scenes, in particular with the dragon, are just fantastically gripping and suspenseful and dramatic as well. This would make an absolutely wonderful movie, or maybe a TV series. I think it deserves to be spread out over a number of hours. It really is great. Anyway, I will leave it there and say, as always, thanks very much for watching. I hope you're safe and well out there. I hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.